Welcome to DMtv Kenya, the home of fearless political analysis. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another explosive session of DMtv Kenya. And today, we take a deep dive into last week's major events and analyze their impact on the 2027 elections. As we all know, Kenya's political events or Kenya's politics is unpredictable. And the alliances we see today might not be the same in the 2027 elections. Right now, Raila Odinga and President Ruto are working together. But my big question is, will this political handshake last? Will it help Ruto to secure another term, or will it backfire? Those are the questions I want you to ask yourself as I go through the events that has taken place the whole of last week. So ladies and gentlemen, stay with me as I break down the biggest stories from last week and what they mean for the 2027 election. Number one, Kenya's economic crisis, and will President Ruto survive the 2027 elections? Number one, Kenya's economy is struggling. The government recently borrowed 1.5 billion US dollars through a pound and is drawing another 1.5 billion dollars loan from the UAE. At the same time, Kenya is negotiating a new program with the International Monetary Fund, and these moves show that Kenya's financial situation is unstable. For the ordinary Kenyans, life is getting harder every day, and the cost of living is at an all-time high. Unga imepanda price, and other commodities prices are still unaffordable for many Kenyans. Fuel costs continue to rise, and many businesses are struggling due to high taxation. While President Ruto promised a bottom-up economic model to help poor Kenyans, and now many Kenyans feel that things have only gotten worse. The big question is, will this economic struggle hurt Ruto in the 2027 elections? Right now, Raila Odinga is standing with President Ruto, and many believe this handshake will help stabilize the political scene. However, history shows that economic hardships always create political waves in this country. If the situation does not improve, even Raila's support might not be enough to save President Ruto. And if Kenyans continues to struggle, they might turn against the government, just like they did in the 2011 when high inflation and food prices made Kibaki's government unpopular. So the opposition will use the economy as their main campaign tool, and this call can be a major problem for Ruto in the 2027 elections. If the economy does not improve, President Ruto's support base will weaken, and Raila's alliance with President Ruto might be tested if the public starts blaming the government. Then the other side, the opposition If Raila is not running, will use the economic crisis to campaign against President Ruto. So, Ruto must fix the economy first, or his chances of re-election will be at risk. Another event that took place last week is security crisis at the Kenya-Ethiopia border, and is Ruto losing control over security? Last week, over 20 Kenyans went missing after a violent clashes with Ethiopian fishermen along the Omo River. This has raised serious concerns about Kenya's border security, and the government responded by sending security forces, but the damage was already done. Security has been a major issue for many years, especially in areas like northeastern, the Rift Valley, and the parts of western Kenya. Banditry across border conflicts and local violence have made Kenyans question whether the government is doing enough to protect the citizens. So President Ruto has promised to handle insecurity, but many people feel that his approach is more reactive than preventive. Instead of solving these problems before they escalate, the government only takes action when lives are already lost, and that one is not making sense at all. Raila's presence in Ruto's government means that he is also part of the security strategy. But will Raila's influence help to solve the problem, or will it make things worse? If Kenyans continue to feel unsafe, both Ruto and Raila will take the blame when it comes to 2027 elections. If insecurity increases, opposition politicians will use it against Ruto in campaigns. And Raila's supporters might start questioning why he's silent about these issues. Kenyans in affected regions might vote for leaders who promise security solutions. And security is a major factor in elections. If Ruto does not handle it well, he will face serious political consequences in 2027 elections. Another thing that took place last week is about the Nairobi Charter. So Kenya's risk role in Sudanese conflict. Kenya has become involved in Sudanese political crisis by supporting the Sudan Founding Alliance, a group of anti-government forces. And this move has sparked debate. Some say it will help bring peace, while others warn that Kenya is taking a dangerous political risk. Kenya has always positioned itself as a peace broker in Africa, and that's what we know, all of us. However, getting involved in Sudanese conflict could have negative consequences, and if Sudanese situation worsens, Kenya might be seen as part of the problem instead of the solution. And for President Ruto, if this is a delicate solution, he wants to be recognized as a key player in Africa's politics. But at the same time, I want to say that he must be careful not to create diplomatic problems in this country. Raila, who has influence in international politics, might help guide this strategy, but if things go wrong, both of them will be blamed. And if Kenya faces backlash for this role in Sudan, I want to say that it could affect Ruto's international reputation. And for opposition leaders, they might use this to claim that President Ruto is focusing too much on foreign politics instead of solving Kenya's local problems. And many Kenyans might feel that their country is being dragged into unnecessary conflicts. Uh, the final thought about this, I want to say that Ruto must be very careful with Sudanese crisis. And if Kenya, the inflow of themselves leads to problems, it could weaken his leadership ahead of the 2027 elections. Another thing I want to talk about before I end this conversation is what we call major conferences in Kenya. And that's number 4. Many conferences have taken in this country and real development or just a political PR. That's what I want us to ask ourselves. Kenya is preparing to host international conferences, including a healthy promotion conference and a reputation and development conference. So the government says that these events will improve Kenya's image and attract investments. Many Kenyans, on the other hand, are asking, will these conferences bring real benefits or are they just for show? Kenya has hosted many big events before, but Kenyans have not always left or felt the impact about these conferences. And these conferences make Kenya look good internationally, but if the government does not deliver real change, people will see them as political BR stunts. Raila's presence in this government might help bring credibility, but he must ensure that these events lead to actual improvements in the healthcare, jobs, and economic growth. Those are the things Kenyans want to see. And in 2027 elections, if these conferences do not lead to real change, Kenyans will feel deceived. And on the other side, opposition leaders will use them as proof that Ruto's government is more focused on image than real development. And on the other side, Raila's influence will be tested. If he cannot deliver, his supporters might turn against him. My final thought